And welcome to Catholics Coast to Coast. I'm Ace McKay, excited where every weekend we just hang out at Podcast Central, kind of chill, but also allows us to have the conversations to deepen our walk with God, and also ones that you can take with you wherever you go. So check us out, Podcast Central, EWTN.com/podcast. So before we dive right in, let's check in on the Mass readings for this weekend as we get your word on the Word.
Mother Angelica once said, "Faith is like having one foot on the ground, one foot in the air, and a queasy feeling in your stomach." But what really is faith?
I'd say it's belief, trust, and loyalty, and things you can't always see.
I think that's a really great answer, but there's also a really good definition in this Sunday's reading.
Hi, welcome to the Word on the Word. I'm Melissa, and this is Veronica. Today, we're going to be talking about this Sunday's second reading.
Now, there's a longer and a shorter version of this reading, but both start with the definition of faith. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen. The reading talks about Abraham's faith, how he obeyed God when he was called to go out to a foreign land where he didn't know where he was going.
And by that same faith, Abraham's wife Sarah was able to conceive a child even in her old age. And by old, I mean much older than today's normal age to have children.
You know, this reading always reminds me of my mom. No. Sorry, Mom. I did not mean she was old when she had me. What I'm saying is she had a lot of questions when she did have me because the doctors told her that she'd never be able to have children, and I was her third. Then, when she went into her checkup with me, the doctors told her that she should abort me. But she said no, she wouldn't do it because she had faith that God would not give her more than she could handle.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. Well, I'm very blessed to say that I defied the odds, and because of my mom's faith, I'm here with you today. Keeping the faith isn't always easy, but remember, God sent Abraham, an old man with a wife and no children, to a foreign land and promised him as many descendants as the stars in the sky. God was with him the whole time and never left his side, and granted Abraham every promise that he made him.
Our challenge for you this week is to open up your Bible and find another passage where God kept one of his promises, like Noah and the ark, for instance. And take a minute to reflect that God will keep every promise that he made to you too.
And remember, Mother Angelica also said that faith is what gets you started, hope is what keeps you going, and love is what brings you to the end.
And we'll see you next week right here on EWTN.
Bye.
Great reflections to wind down the summer as we continue to check out what's happening. You can always look for Word on the Word at Podcast Central or wherever you like to stream. I'm Ace McKay. As Catholics Coast to Coast continues, this week, Counsel of Trent has Trent and his wife Laura talking about a recent cancer diagnosis and what they've learned spiritually on this journey and how it can help us in ours as well. We continue that with Counsel of Trent on Catholics Coast to Coast.
Well, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I put cancer in the thumbnail, and that's what we have. We have a cancer diagnosis, not me though, but for my wife Laura. And we wanted to share today just kind of what we're going through, kind of the story behind what happened, what kind of we've learned from this, especially spiritually, what we've learned from all of this. And then finally, how you guys can just help us out as we're going through this difficult time. So yeah, when it comes to cancer, it's particular kind, starts with the letter B. It's my favorite body part of yours, frankly. Brain
never gets old. That joke never gets old.
Brain cancer. We've been spiritually attacked. We've had to record this like 4 times.
It's our 4th time recording this
because like the mic doesn't work or this or that. There's a lot of attacks. But I think there's also a lot of good that comes from it. And so we wanted to talk about that today. So why don't we just start with just how this happened?
Yeah. I was telling my friends earlier and Trent and the first 3 times that I've recorded that the most insulting part of all of this will be when like I mention that I have brain cancer to people and they're like, that checks out. And I'm like, I don't have any symptoms though. It was found incidentally. They're like, okay.
But no, that's the thing.
No, really, I don't have any
symptoms. No headaches, no seizures. We found out it's kind of like a homeless person story.
Hey, that is my joke.
You did it the first 3 times, and it's not my fault this didn't work. So
it was for a study that paid $400, and you get a free health workup. And I tell people that's like a homeless person donating plasma and finding out that they have AIDS. And then like you have to tell people, and they're like, so can I still donate the plasma? And me, I'm like, so do I still get the $400? And they're like, no, you don't qualify for the study anymore. That has really been the worst part of all this, is that I never got the
I like, was your homeless person just the nanny from that old show?
It's times are tough, okay.
We got
Fran Drescher to
this Fran Drescher. That's why is
Mr. Sheffield was bad for me.
She has AIDS and is trying to make money at plasma now. Don't get any money from syndication.
I worked for the unions that got corrupt. It was a whole thing, darling.
So what happened was we, through friends, we providentially were guided to an Alzheimer's study. And then ironically enough, neither of us has Alzheimer's. We have something, although I think that could even be worse, frankly. But they gave us, we were going to get paid $400. You get a free workup, a free MRI.
Yeah, we never would have found this, which is such a gift. They think, and then we'll tell the story, but just to give a quick synopsis of what they think the diagnosis is, either a grade 2 or a grade 3 glioma. So gliomas come in different grades. The first one is like basically a benign, but it happens more in children. Better prognosis. Grade 2s and 3s progress to a grade 4, and a grade 4 is a death sentence. So we are really grateful that we are hoping that we caught this early.
We keep hoping on the rung. Like, it's not even grade 1. We start with grade 0, which would be a smudge on the MRI.
Yes.
We're like, maybe it's a smudge.
Maybe this is cartilage. I told one of the neurosurgeons in my appointment, I did jiu-jitsu once and I fell hard. He's like, that is not what this is. You have brain cancer. This is not because you were a klutz and you tried jiu-jitsu once.
This is right. This is not like a taco shop where we accidentally got your order wrong. Oh, I'm sorry. You wanted the refried beans, not the regular beans. That's my mistake.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now you're dead.
No, it's like, so first hoping for smudge, then hoping for grade 1 or focal cortical dysplasia. And then now it's like, we're hoping it's still grade 2 and doesn't come back.
We will not know, though, until pathology is back after my surgery, which we'll get to. So basically, the story begins with my friend Sarah, who had 4 children and then a gap in her children. And then she had 3 young children all in a row in her early 40s, which all children are blessings, Catholic disclaimer, but that's very hard. And so when she was pregnant with her 3rd, I sent her money. I don't remember her sending her money, but apparently I did. And she thought that I was nice. And so she joined my book club.
She knew you're nice.
Yeah, thank you. That was a jump cut edit because I was like, say the thing again,
we're not
Mr.
practicing.
Sheffield.
We're not practicing boxing. We could do that though if you want.
My avian arms.
No, we got it. It's like all the energy is like going up here to try to help you. You're like, let my arms go.
So I sent her money. She joined my book club. As part of the book club, we're part of a well-read moms group. Instead of reading Pilgrim at Tinker Creek last year, which we were all burned by the end of the book list, no offense, well-read moms. But we decided and took a vote to read a book called Priest and Beggar, which is about Venerable Father Al Schwartz. And so she signed up for the study and then let us know about the study. And Father Al will come up later. He's who we're praying to for the intercession.
Right.
So she signed up for the study. We dragged our feet on it. We did not sign up for the study. This year, though, we have had a lot of medical expenses. And so we decided to do it for the free health workup. I burned my leg really bad on Valentine's Day and ended up in the hospital twice. And so I was like, sure, I'll take the labs that are free. You do a memory test, you get some labs done, and you do an MRI and a PET scan. And the MRI came back that I have a glioma. So that was on May 12th that I got that MRI done. On May 19th, they called me and let me know that I needed to go see a doctor. They're like, we're just a study. We don't...
We can't diagnose. All we can do is tell you there's something that looks bad.
And I thought,
like, great.
Unfortunately, my field of study was in neuronursing primarily, and that was where I spent the majority of my time as a nurse. So there are discrepancies all the time on people's MRIs. They took 1,700 pictures. So I was like, sweet, it's old injury, whatever. And then I read possible CNS neoplasm, which means brain tumor. And I ran up to Trent.
I have a brain tumor.
Yeah, to go and cry.
And that's like getting hit with a sledgehammer. And then immediately you start with it couldn't be that. I'm sure it's because like she's the healthy one. I'm the one who spent much of our marriage making nightly runs to McDonald's.
Yeah. When I am using arrowroot powder as dry shampoo, I'm like, does it even matter? Like, I have a brain tumor. Why am I doing this?
Using that fake deodorant that's probably just flour.
Oh, let me tell you, I'm like, okay. I don't think it was the aluminum that did me under, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So,
but you're the health conscious one, and then this comes up.
Yeah. So May 19th, they called me and let me know. The neurologist had a cancellation. May 19th is a Monday. They had a cancellation for Wednesday. Without that cancellation, first available would have been middle of August, to give you an idea of how fast God has been moving through all of this. I see that neurologist. He confirms that I do have a brain tumor. He refers me to a neurosurgeon who I did not end up going with because he did not have any reviews online. And I'm not going to go to a doctor that doesn't have any reviews online.
It's kind of like when you do Airbnb, a house will look nice and it's just like new. You're like, well, what's the worst that could happen if it's a bad house you stay at? But if you're looking at brain surgeons, like, new. Don't want to quite take the same risk.
I don't even go to a restaurant that has like below a 4.2. And so, yeah, I'm not taking a risk with that. So my friend Sarah was in Morocco at the time without her kids. So she was able to devote her time to me. She's a connector. So she was trying to find people to connect me to that could get me a neurosurgeon to see. She, because of that book by Father Al died of ALS. So she befriended this couple at her church, who are really, really kind. And the wife has ALS. Their names are Kelly and Jeff. Jeff happens to be a Catholic neuroradiologist. A neuroradiologist is just someone who reads the reports of MRIs, basically. So he called me and was able to personally get me appointments to go see the first two neurosurgeons that we saw, who were really fantastic and really great and top of the line.
If we didn't have these people's help, the first consult we would have gotten with a neurosurgeon, even before it's not a neurologist.
A neurologist.
Not
who
even
then
the surgeon.
refers you to a neurosurgeon.
Would have been like August.
Yeah,
and
August.
I think you would have gone batty by then, and I would have come home and seen you with an ice pick thinking like, I could get it out myself.
No, I'd fake a seizure. I'm all in. I'd fake a seizure because then you get to sleep afterwards. You get really tired after seizures. So I'd be like, woohoo.
I'll give you the Alka-Seltzer. Well, you know how to do it real. Like you worked at a hospital. I wouldn't know. I'm like, I'll pop in. I'll just remember the scene from Eraser, the 1996 underrated Arnold Schwarzenegger film, where a guy has to fake a seizure. He pops in Alka-Seltzer tablets. Yeah, basically. But no, I'm so grateful that our friends on earth and in heaven, who we've asked help from, providentially got us into seeing a neurosurgeon very quickly.
So we saw those two neurosurgeons, and they went vastly different from how we thought that they would go. We thought at that point that I had a benign tumor. A good friend of ours, Rijo, after we found out about our first MRI, I needed an MRI with contrast, so he called that in for us to be done that night. So that's how fast things had moved. I had already had an MRI with contrast done to take with me to the neurologist. Yeah. It did not take up contrast. It did not take up contrast, which is a sign that it is benign. So we thought it was benign going into our neurosurgeon's appointment. And we thought even if it was benign, they'd take it out. The first two neurosurgeons recommended watchful waiting for us. They said, please don't poke it unless it pokes you. And it's right next to your speech center. And we don't feel comfortable really operating on this at this point.
You took that pretty hard.
I did. Pardon me. I did. I was like joking around with the doctor, and I think he was like, "Is she taking this seriously?" But it's a coping mechanism.
And then as soon as we left his office,
I lose it. This poor woman came up to me and consoled me like an angel. It brings tears to my eyes. She's like, "You have to believe in God. You have to trust in Jesus. He will get you through this. You will live." He was like, "Jesus, she needs to be there for her 3 children." She prayed over me. It was just truly an angel, and I'll never see her again. But during it, I think the doctor was like, "Does she understand the gravity of this?" Because like I was like joking around about it, basically. But then I lost it when I got out.
How bad is a brain tumor, Michael? What, $10 to take it out?
Totally. How much is a brain tumor? Yeah. But so then Trent took me out to eat, and that was probably the most depressing meal that he has ever had in his life. Because I just cried the whole time, and he was just eating unlimited meat at Feel Good to Chow.
Everyone has different coping mechanisms. Mine is just to eat away my sorrows. And so surprisingly enough, that's why I'm just still amazed. Like I'm the one who eats red meat, who is, uses real deodorant. And somehow like, wow, I still am. Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then we were just...
don't reek because of my aluminum, and I have 4 polyps. that are probably unchecked. Not going to check them out.
Yeah. So then we're going from that, and we actually disagreed about how we were going to move forward.
I really wanted to find a neurosurgeon that would operate. I had read some studies online.
I see her looking up Expedia to Mexico City.
Well, while we're there, they do mommy tummy tucks and some other.
We could throw it all in for a package for you. So she was like, and I understand, because you're the one with the tumor in your head. Like, get this thing out of me.
But he did not agree. And so I said, I will totally trust your judgment as the spiritual leader of this home, because I am just that submissive. This is actually what I said, and I'm making it sound like I didn't say that.
No, and I told her, like, I get that you're upset.
But I would like you to look into
I get that you're stressed about a tumor, but I'm really worried. Like, I told her, like, interventions, like, there's a reason we say, it's not like it's brain surgery. And then now it's brain surgery. Like, there's a reason we use that as an example of things that are hard or not hard, and that something could go wrong, that especially they're cutting around in your speech center, your cognitive areas. Like, it's not like
it's in my arm.
It's not like just taking a tooth out.
Yeah.
It's a serious, like, and so I was just thinking, okay, if this isn't that big a deal, maybe we shouldn't bug it. And we start talking about the tumor like it's a person. Or like, some people name him, which is weird.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, I don't want to mess with him if he's not messing with us. And it's like, what am I saying here?
I know. I'm like, this is not California. You cannot live here rent free. You get out of here.
We are evicting you. You're getting evicted today.
We're in Texas now.
Yeah. So at first I was really worried. And then I went and I just looked at all the studies. I go and just getting different medical advice online, trying to read studies that have words with 12 syllables in them. And by the way, we are not giving anybody medical advice. This is
what we've decided.
This is what we have decided. Do not take medical advice from us. If you need medical advice, use ChatGPT. That's what I would.
Yeah. ChatGPT has been wrong about like basically everything at this point. Like, it told me it was this benign thing that's basically a birthmark. It told me that I didn't have this other thing that I have. And so now I just Google it to know if I'll live. If it says that I'm going to die, I'm like, whew, ChatGPT said that I'm going to die, so I'm going to live.
I'm going to be okay. So, but no, just going through everything, and I was reading a bunch of different studies, and I just came away thinking, okay, watching and waiting. Once again, this is our story. You talk to your own doctor about where you're at. I was just thinking, okay, well, wait a minute. That might be good advice if Laura was like 70.
Yeah.
But you're in your mid 30s. The odds of this growing or getting worse or getting more ingrained
are high.
They're high. And so it's like, why would I even wait? And then, okay, we'll work on it when it's bad then. And also, you're younger. You're in your mid 30s, so you have more neuroplasticity. Your brain is going to have a better ability to heal from a surgery than if we did this like when you're 50 or 45. So that, just seeing all of that, I was like, okay, I felt like God led me. It was good just to hear the initial things, but then to really think, okay, I think it's worth us.
It was also good. Those two doctors were incredibly competent to know those aren't our doctors.
Yeah, so, and it led us to another doctor who is the right fit to do this resection, to take out this portion of your brain.
So basically. That doctor basically, at the end, I said, at the end of that long and painful day, we thought it was going to be benign. It wasn't. We thought they were going to take it out. They didn't want to. I said, what if I disagree with you? And he said, then I would send you to this certain doctor. And he named the name. And I was like, okay, send in a referral. He's like, okay, but you need to get an MRI in 6 weeks and then we'll send over the referral. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So that night I go home and I'm an emotional mess. And my friend Blessy, who is truly an angel to our family.
Yeah.
She's a very good friend and a very good person. She was diagnosed with cancer. And 2 days after her diagnosis, she found out that she was pregnant. And that she went in for a biopsy, like a bone marrow biopsy. And she found out through that pregnancy test that she was pregnant. And so no doctor would take her case unless she got an abortion.
Yeah.
And so she obviously refused to get an abortion. And she was even pressured by like people that she really loved in her life and really trusted. And she did not. And she had this baby, and now she appears to be like, her chemo appears to be working, and the baby is a year old. Her name is Lucia, and it's just this beautiful, beautiful testament to life. And so that night, though, she woke up from sickness after her chemo, and she said, Laura, do you need anything? And I said, yes, I need a neurosurgeon. And because at this point, Trent and I had decided, we were both on the same page that we wanted to operate, because I wasn't going to operate if Trent wasn't comfortable with that.
Yeah.
So I wanted truly him to be okay with that and for him to lead that charge. So she said, let me ask my oncologist. Her oncologist that she now was with was the only doctor that would take her case. And he's super Catholic and super wonderful. So he responded right away and said, she needs to see this doctor, which was the name of the doctor that the other doctor had recommended.
Yeah.
I will text her right now and get an appointment with her. And he did. And she saw.
Which normally would have taken months, probably.
And he said she'll see her at Monday at 1:30. And so, so that's how I was able to get an appointment. She normally doesn't even see people on Mondays. She normally sees people on Thursdays, which is just really a testament, I think, and something that we'll go over later on things that I've learned to like the communion of saints. Just everything has been through the intercession of somebody else who is loved by another person.
Yeah.
And so it's truly been like a reason to be Catholic for me. Like this is, if the saints are more alive than these people here on earth, how much more can they ask for our good in heaven?
Yeah.
So it's been a beautiful testament. So we decided to go with this doctor. She knew all the most recent studies. She was very comfortable operating on this type of glioma. She does it all the time.
Most experience.
And she knew what MRIs to order. We're at a research hospital, so they could order like other MRIs that wouldn't have been available at the other facility also that could like show if I had like certain genes that made that tumor more amenable to therapy, and things like that. So it's been really the place we think that I'm supposed to be, and hopefully we caught it early.
Yeah. And so that's going to be July 23rd. So this should release a few days before Laura's surgery. And so your prayers, especially for that date, is if everything goes according to plan, that's when she will go in. And then I'm going to take probably about a week and a half off just to care for you. And then your prayers will be appreciated because it will be, it'll be a big recovery. It's
they have
brain
learned
surgery.
Through 2 MRIs that I will not need to be awake. They thought originally that I would need to be awake because it's right next to my speech center. And
they were worried your speech would be all different. Laura Lee's.
Yeah, we always say Laura Lee's. That's how I'm going to speak afterwards. But I'm like, I don't have a problem talking. Trent wishes that I had a problem.
If you talk like that, I would still love you so much. I'd say, you ate the whole wheel of cheese? I'm not even mad.
I'm impressed, really.
You would sound like a minion and then the girl squirrel from The Sword and the Stone.
Yes, Merlin, who's in love with Merlin. Oh, you're my Merlin.
No, Arthur. Once again,
I thought she was in love with Merlin.
There's the big squirrel.
Oh yeah, no, that's
and you're the cute. No, you're the cute little squirrel. You're my cute little squirrel. Yes, that's right. But that was. That would be. I couldn't even imagine.
I would do it. I would do it if it meant that I got to keep my speech. Every hater on the internet is like, no.
But I guess can't imagine just 6 hours or 8 hours
being
of that.
Awake so they can preserve it. But no, I get to be asleep, which is really nice. And then also it seems like it produces it produced something called 2HG, which means that it's probably an IDH mutation tumor, which is just like there are more targeted therapies for that now. New drugs that have come out that are so expensive, which is why I'm so grateful for everybody who has ever donated to Catholic Answers or to this podcast that they're able to provide us with insurance, because I truly do not know what people without
to afford
insurance would
brain
do.
surgery and the recovery. If I had to just do it all by myself, I'd have to rob a bank every day to pay for it, basically. So the support of the podcast has been just so helpful. Thank you to that, and thankful to Catholic Answers who have been able to support us, provide us with health insurance just to be able to do that. And so, so now we're going to go into that. So your prayers in that will be really helpful. You want to talk about what we've learned?
Sure. Just real quick though, the recovery, what it will look like. The first 6 weeks are hard because my skull will be broken. So then the up to 3 months, she said my speech will be wonky, even though it's not on my speech center. She says it's by it, obviously. So she said that I'll probably need speech therapy. And then it will take about a year for my brain to heal completely. So obviously that's hard. We will know a lot more when pathology is back.
Yeah.
We don't know anything.
So please pray that it's still, because there is a small possibility that it could be like a grade 4 in like infancy almost, that you can't, they used to, I'm talking like I know, like I'm an expert in this stuff. You feel that when you like read all of these things.
Yeah.
They used to judge tumors just based on their size, but they can do genetic testing now to see how aggressive it is, not based, because you could have something small it hasn't grown yet. So it could still be an aggressive tumor. So prayers, we'll know more once the genetic results come back after the surgery.
I am a painful optimist.
Oof.
Trent is a melancholic and I am a sanguine. And it is truly evident in our personalities.
We deserve no blessings in this life, for we are sinners.
It's not a grade one. That's how he's been. Seriously. He's like, we deserve nothing. Every day is a gift. And I'm like, then why did God even put me here? That was his choice. But yeah, they're like, there's a very small chance it's still a grade one. And I'm like, how small? They're like less than 1%. I'm like, you're saying there's a chance?
Samsonite.
Saying there's Samsonite. So I am still painfully optimistic, but chances are it is not a good tumor. But I'm just going to hope for it. Whatever. I have learned, did I ever say this in this recording? I'm sorry. I have learned that the secret to Christian happiness is to be hopeful without any expectations. Because every single time throughout this experience that I have expected something to happen, it has gone completely the opposite.
No.
I thought it would be benign. It's not. I thought they would operate. They didn't want to. I thought, like, when I go in with a, Lord, I am open to whatever your will is, but help it be good news attitude, my day is so much better. And so, like, I really am optimistic about it, but also trying to be very practical and, like, prepare for things. So I'm just going to take it one day at a time. Like, the Lord's Prayer is so evident right now in our lives. Give us this day our daily bread. And I feel like without this opportunity, I think all the time, did I actually have faith before this? And the answer is maybe, but I don't know.
No, you've been a model. You're carrying much more than I have in this. We're both, carrying this. I want to carry your cross. I feel like it's your cross, and I'm helping you to carry it, and I still feel some of the weight. No, I would argue that those are different crosses, and that's really what I have learned through all this. Would you like to segue into that? Was that your segue? Is this a segue? It's like a seg-wave. This is a seg-wave.
I would drive a Segway, but I don't want to go off a cliff.
So that happened to the creator of the Segway.
Who didn't know that story? Everybody knows that. Like, that's like everybody knowing that Dr. Adkins died of 300 pounds or whatever.
I didn't know that either about
Now
Atkins.
I look disrespectful. I'm sorry, Internet. I really love Trent.
No.
I'll ride the Segwave. Just so I don't come off bad or people
No, I thought that was funny. Okay, so, I guess the biggest thing that I've learned, I think this really, anytime you have trials, you have pain or evils in your life, it will be a test of faith. I would say, it's strengthened my faith. Seeing the people who loved us, who are helping us, how God is working in our lives right now.
Spiritual journey through cancer scares. Easy to do when you have help from others who have walked it. Counsel of Trent, available at Podcast Central when you go to EWTN.com/podcast or look for Counsel of Trent wherever you like to stream. I'm Ace McKay. When Catholics Coast to Coast returns, Jocelyn's going to join us for God with Us as we're talking about this week a very important ministry that she helped to start called We Carry You Still. It's for women who seek to serve and walk with anyone who has experienced miscarriage or infant loss. Great stuff to help you as we continue our journey this week. Catholics Coast to Coast returns.
If it's central to the faith, you can find it on EWTN Podcast Central, featuring the best of EWTN radio, as well as faith-filled podcasts from our friends and affiliates across the nation, all in one place, all free. The destination for great Catholic audio programming is EWTN Podcast Central. It's like podcast heaven. Visit EWTN.com/radio/podcasts today.
Glory to Jesus Christ, and welcome to this week's episode of God with Us Live. Every week, we're joined by men and women, monastics, clergy, and laity, exploring exciting and inspiring ways to live our Eastern Catholic faith today. Your host is Father Deacon Nick Medelsky, a husband, father, and deacon of the Ukrainian Catholic Eparchy of St. Nicholas. And now, here's Father Deacon Nick.
Hello, and welcome once again. God with Us Live listeners, Father Deacon Nick Medelsky, excited as always to be here with you to find out more beautiful things going on in our Eastern Catholic churches on this wonderful podcast. It's a great chance to have some important conversations, find out about some wonderful ministries, and again, some great things going on in our Eastern Catholic churches. Our guest today is actually one of our few repeat guests so far on the podcasts. Hopefully the one of the first of many. And our guest today is Huria Jocelyn Abiad. She was in one of our first few episodes talking about Melkite Mama and busy kids and all those sorts of things. And she is a busy mom in both senses of the word. And she is now involved in a new ministry that I'm excited to hear about. It's a very important ministry that will touch a lot of people and do a lot of good. And rather than me talk all about it, we'll have Huria tell us all about it. But even though you've been on the show before, would you mind introducing yourself just briefly for our listeners who might have, like me, have short-term memory loss and might not remember?
Don't we all? So yes, thank you so much. It's truly a joy to be speaking with you again. I'm a big fan of the podcast in general. So my name for your listeners is Jocelyn Abiad, and I am the wife of Father Ziad Abiad. I'm the mother to 7 girls on earth and 3 babies in heaven. And I'm an Arizona native, so I feel very fortunate to serve at St. John of the Desert Melkite Catholic Parish in Phoenix, Arizona, which is near a lot of extended family and my longtime friends. In addition to volunteering at the parish, I maintain an online presence as Melkite Mama, as you mentioned, and I share homeschool and liturgical living tips online. I write for Busy Kids magazine, which is a children's magazine geared specifically to those who are of the Byzantine tradition. And extending from that work, I direct the National Busy Classroom program, where I write and develop a monthly curriculum for groups that want to participate together in the Busy Kids curriculum. And I host the Phoenix chapter of that organization.
Very cool. Very cool. And as I mentioned in the intro, though, you are a busy mom. And as if all of that wasn't enough to keep you busy, you've also been involved in starting a new ministry, a new outreach. Could you tell us just a little bit about that, and we'll kind of dive into it as we go through the episode?
Yeah. So my newest endeavor is a ministry called We Carry You Still, and it seeks to serve those who have experienced miscarriage or infant loss. And we do that by providing practical resources for their immediate needs and then supporting their long-term journey towards healing. And we have 3 primary missions or aspects of our mission. The first one is to provide memory boxes to women who have recently experienced a loss. We offer local retreats to provide healing, particularly through the sacraments at those retreats. And we refer to medical, social, and product providers whose resources are faithful to church teaching through our website.
Very good, very good. And I know this is a sort of ministry that's sorely needed. We haven't been touched by miscarriage, but I know a lot of our friends and family have as well. And this is an important ministry to be able to offer for you personally. And kind of also looking around at those around you, what kind of inspired you to start a ministry like this?
Yeah, it's a super personal topic to me. So miscarriage definitely has touched my family. A little over 3 years ago, my husband and I lost 3 babies in a row to miscarriage. We lost Eden at 10 weeks and Thomas at 6 weeks, and James we lost at 15 weeks. So as you can imagine, the world really changed for me when I had to bury my babies. And we had 6 living children at the time, and it was just not something that I expected to happen to us. We can all fall into that mentality of like, that's something for other people. It's this other mentality. But my whole worldview of birth and babies was challenged through this. And so in particular, these losses brought to light the remarkable lack of resources, particularly ones faithful to church teaching for those who were in my shoes. And this isn't just emotional resources, but practical ones as well. I found myself in the position with some really basic questions that I didn't know, like, how do you bury a baby that you miscarried at home? Or how do you purchase a casket for an infant? Nobody talks about these things, and they're decisions that you have to typically make in a quick time frame. So this was a really dark night of my soul time, and the grief was so deep. I talk to people now, I can honestly still feel the scream inside my heart and my stomach. And I needed time and I needed help to heal. And I really thank God for the family members and friends and professionals who came alongside me on my journey towards healing. And they really inspired me. So after I had received all that help, I wanted to give back. And so I started volunteering with a miscarriage ministry here in Phoenix that was operating out of a Protestant church. And the women who run that group were integral in my own healing process. They're dear friends. They've an incredible ministry. And I was inspired by the work they were doing to make similar resources available to Catholic women and families on a larger scale. So I brought up the idea to my mom, who had recently retired, and she said, let's do it. So she's an incredible, intelligent, hardworking, faithful woman, and gave me that little spark of encouragement and a ton of support. And so we joined forces and we started working on it. We asked a couple of friends of mine, Lindsay and Tanya, to join our board as well. And We Carry You Still is the end result of that collaboration.
And I know we've been talking about, you've mentioned it was difficult to find resources that were kind of faithful to church teaching and things like that. Why do you think that was kind of difficult, I guess, and why is it important, I suppose, is probably the better question. Why is it important to have resources that are, grounded in the faith?
I think there's actually two answers to this, really, because I think the obvious answer is that our theology speaks in a particular way about our lives and the lives of our children who have died. So when you are in grief, you want people who speak your language, so to say. For example, it really bothered me when people would say, you have an angel baby now. My babies are not angels. They're saints. They're innocent souls in heaven. And something that's important to me is that, God willing, I'll meet them someday in their resurrected bodies. So that embodiment of our children, but also our grieving is really shaped by our faith. So in my darkest days, I really look to the saints, in particular, the Mother of God, as a consoler, because she knows what it is like to bury her child. And I wanted comfort and healing through the lens of Catholic theology, and secular or Protestant groups couldn't provide me with that, no matter how wonderful they were. But I think a second layer and something that as a universal church we need to ponder and think about a lot more is the church's commitment to being pro-life. I think this concept of pro-life often gets relegated to only the topics of abortion, maybe euthanasia, but it is really so much more than that. We ask all married couples to be open to life, and that inherently means they are open to this possibility of death. Nearly 50% of all women will experience miscarriage or infant loss in their lifetime. These are women, these are faithful couples, no matter, they're sitting in our pews and we're failing them. We're leaving them without the resources they need. We talk about how important burying the dead is. That corporal work of mercy is a priority to us as Catholics. And as a church, it's time for us to do better by supporting these faithful families who are open to life and as part of that journey experience the loss of a child.
Absolutely. Like you said, it's an important resource to offer, and something that should naturally flow from our theology, from our respect for life, as you mentioned, right? Our openness to life is also, in a certain sense, right, an understanding that we are at the same time open to the risk, I guess you might say, of death, in a way. So that is an interesting perspective to offer on that, and like you said, very important, and definitely something that the church should be able to offer. I know looking through the women involved, the Meet Our Team section on the website of We Carry You Still, that this isn't simply an Eastern Catholic ministry, right? There's Roman Catholics involved as well as Orthodox Christians involved too. Could you talk about, was that kind of a conscious decision on your part? Did that just kind of organically happen, or how did that happen?
Maybe a little bit of both. I grew up Roman Catholic, so my mom is still Roman Catholic. My dad is a deacon in the Roman Catholic Church. And so with her as my partner, we were inherently this East and West vision. And I always say I like to breathe with both lungs. It was something that was really important to me. But interestingly enough, the next person that we invited to the board was Lindsay, and she's one of my dearest friends, and she's Greek Orthodox. But she really taught me how to do death, how to grieve, how to visit the cemetery. That wasn't something that I grew up with. And so she has this beautiful and rich experience and traditions around honoring those who have died. And I just could not do this ministry without her. And so as we were forming our mission statement and working on this, she says, well, you're talking a lot about Catholics, and here I am Orthodox. What about my church and the rest of my parish? And I said, you know what, you're right. And she and I have for a long time felt that, bringing the church back together, we're going to go from bottom up. We're going to make the lay people come together. Not make them, but, we're inspired to come together, and we pray that will inspire the churches as a whole, right, to come together officially. And so I think inherently, I love the East and the West. And so just as a natural extension of that, it became that we could speak in both the Catholic and Orthodox sphere, because when it comes to this, we do share the common theology and the common language around it. And so I think that this is something that can benefit both churches.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, reunion, communion between our churches will kind of happen from the ground up. So it's wonderful that this is, I guess, ecumenical effort, right? Involving both the Eastern and Western churches, both within the Catholic churches as well as the Orthodox churches. It's beautiful to see that cooperation together on something like this. And like you said, again, going back to that common theology we share around life and death as well, it's beautiful that we're able to kind of collaborate on something like this.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that aspect of the ministry.
Well, if you're just joining us here on God With Us Live, I suppose you're not flipping through channels and tuning in. Sometimes I forget that from being on radio. I'm used to that kind of send-off. But we're speaking with Jocelyn Abiad about her ministry, We Carry You Still. And we'll be talking more about kind of the different aspects of that ministry when we come back from a short break here on God With Us Live. So stay tuned.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Scenes with the Saints. Do you know which saint was banished from her homeland, yet miraculously returned to work miracles? Saint Olympia was born to noble parents in Constantinople in the 4th century, and as was the custom at the time, was betrothed at a young age to a nobleman. Although the marriage was supposed to take place when Olympia grew up, the young man died, and Saint Olympia resolved to remain unmarried for the rest of her life. When her parents passed away, Saint Olympia started distributing their vast wealth to those in need in Constantinople, as well as using those funds to support churches, monasteries, hospitals, and orphanages. Due to her generous care for the needs of others, the Patriarch of Constantinople, Saint Nectarius, appointed Saint Olympia a deaconess responsible for caring for those in need on behalf of the church. After Saint Nectarius passed away, he was succeeded by the great Saint John Chrysostom, who was later banished from Constantinople. Saint Olympia and the other deaconesses strongly protested to the emperor, but to no avail. Before leaving, St. John encouraged the deaconesses to faithfully serve whomever his successor might be. Saint Olympia soon became a target herself. Not long after St. John was exiled, a church was burned down, taking a large part of Constantinople along with it. Unjustly, the authorities decided to blame the supporters of St. John Chrysostom. St. Olympia was questioned repeatedly, and despite her innocence and a total lack of evidence, was fined a large sum of money for the crime of arson. Money that could have been used to feed the hungry, comfort the sick, or to shelter those left homeless by the fires. Saint Olympia attempted to leave Constantinople to escape further persecution, but was instead sent to the prison in Nicomedia, where she passed away. After her death, Saint Olympia appeared to the bishop of Nicomedia in a dream, and she made a strange request. She asked the bishop to place her remains in a wooden casket and to throw it into the Sea of Marmara. Wherever her casket would wash ashore, the people were to bury her. The bishop did as instructed, and her body washed ashore at a town quite near to Constantinople. The people there venerated her holy relics, and many miracles were reported at her tomb. Unfortunately, her relics were desecrated by the invading Persians a few hundred years later. The townspeople were able to recover them, but the Patriarch of Constantinople decided it would be much safer to relocate the relics to Constantinople. There, in the city that had already benefited so greatly from her generosity while she was alive, Saint Olympia was laid to rest in a woman's monastery founded through her generosity, which fittingly bore her name. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Scenes with the Saints. Join us again next time when we learn more about the lives of these holy men and women.
Hello and welcome back to God With Us Live. Father Deacon Nick Medelsky again here with Maria Jocelyn Abiad talking about the ministry We Carry You Still, the miscarriage ministry that she's been a part of getting started out there in Arizona. One of the things you mentioned, and I know this from talking to friends and family who've gone through this as well, is that it's difficult to find resources after a miscarriage. I know I've talked to some people who said, it's very difficult to even talk about, obviously. So maybe you could talk about that a little bit more, though. Why it's difficult for moms and families to find kind of resources after a miscarriage.
I think first and foremost is really just the sheer gravity of the loss. It's not just the person or the child that you've lost, but there's a lot of questions about your fertility, your future, your relationship with your spouse. It's just an incredible, emotional and difficult time. And you're very vulnerable. It's hard to think clearly in the midst of all of that. And on top of that, you're basically having to learn a new skill set. You're having to think about things you never realized you needed to know. Things I mentioned before, like finding a casket for a first trimester loss, or medical options if you need assistance that are ethical and honor your dignity and that of your child. We live in a culture that doesn't value life in the womb. And so it can be really difficult to find doctors or even friends sometimes who are willing to acknowledge the sanctity of the child's life, irregardless of their age. And on top of this, there just aren't that many resources out there. And so it can be challenging to find them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And now we move from kind of the problem to the solution, I suppose. Would you tell us about what kind of resources you're able to offer at We Carry You Still, and maybe what resources you'd hope to be able to offer?
So the main resource that we have right now that is up and running is our website. And our hope for that is that it will be a central triage station of sorts for Catholic and Orthodox people who are touched by this type of loss, no matter where you live. So our website is wecarryoustill.org. and you can find links to sites that give medical expectations, practical products that you need, like miscarriage kits for home delivery, as well as counselors and emotional support if you need a little help, a little extra help in your healing process. We also share testimonials from other women who have experienced this loss, and we even have book recommendations and gift ideas for family members and friends who want to show their support to a family that's grieving. Locally, we have a couple other layers. Beginning in October, we're going to offer memory boxes to anyone who has experienced a loss. So we have designed these gorgeous boxes with a book, a journal, holy water, a custom memorial ornament, and a print that can be framed. Just a gift to someone in this moment of loss. And we left room in the box for that family to add in their own personal mementos from their baby, like hospital bracelets or cards that they receive. And then finally, also locally, we have plans to host day-long retreats. These will be twice a year, offered to women and couples, a place to process their loss alongside others who know what it is like to lose a child. So this is a unique aspect of our ministry in that we want to serve the dads too. I think they're often forgotten and underserved in this space. And again, when we talk about those primary values within our faith, hopefully, I mean, we never hope for loss, but hopefully these losses are occurring within a marriage. And so we want to minister to that couple and not separate that union.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's something that, is very important to not just, obviously, a mother's grief is a special kind of grief and particularly intense, but it also affects fathers, right, and families. So I love to hear that you're serving everyone there, right, who might have been touched by this. Yeah. So moving, not all of our listeners obviously live in Arizona, but I'm sure a lot of us, as you mentioned, 50% of women will experience this kind of loss in their lifetimes. And obviously, a lot of us listening have either family members or friends who've been touched by miscarriage, and just kind of curious if maybe you could offer us, our listeners, a little bit of insight into, outside of referring them to the website, of course, what kind of support we can provide, either as individuals or even as a parish family, to women who are, and families who are experiencing this kind of loss.
I think, listening to this podcast and pondering these things and pondering how this is an issue for all of us as a church, how we need to do better is an important first step. But I think more specifically, the number one thing you can do for someone who is walking through this type of loss is offer your presence. So it can be incredibly isolating to lose a child. So if you're able to attend the prayer service or funeral, or bring a meal to the family, babysitting their living children for an afternoon so they can go to follow-up medical appointments, dropping off a thoughtful card or a gift. Another really big one is acknowledging their baby who has died as their child and using their baby's name if possible. I think sometimes people feel afraid to bring up the loss as if you're going to upset the person. But I assure you they haven't forgotten what happened or forgotten their child. So you acknowledging the child actually lightens the weight of carrying grief alone. It doesn't make it heavier. So on our website education page, we also offer free printable guides that list even more tips and practical suggestions. These are customized to all the people touched by miscarriage. So we have one for mothers, fathers, grandparents, friends, and even one for parents with living children that discusses how to help your children grieve their sibling. So those are free to print, and any parish or ministry could go onto our website and use those, or even individuals, and that gives you some really practical and specific tips.
Well, it's a great sample of what We Carry You Still can actually do for you, and great stuff that you can help get involved in. Find out more with God With Us when you check it out. Podcast Central at EWTN.com/podcast. And then, of course, stream wherever you like to. That way you can subscribe and never miss future episodes. I'm Ace McKay, bugging out and enjoying the rest of my weekend. You do the same as the summer winds down. We're always here for you to encourage you along the way and to pray for you as well. Remember to let God define who you are, and I'll see you again with Catholics Coast to Coast.